My name's Jeff, and I love beer. I don't just mean that I love to drink it though. I mean I'm passionate about the history of beer, how it's made, and what's in store for the future of beer. Some might call me a beer snob, but I see it a bit differently. I want to learn about all beers. It's time to go exploring in the world of beer. On today's episode of The Beer Snob, we're traveling to northern New Jersey. They've been brewing beer here since the colonial time, since this was a Dutch settlement. But now there's over 28 breweries in this state. We're going to learn some information about our favorite hop juice, and then hopefully we're going to get to taste some. Our first stop of the day doesn't look that interesting, because it's that house. But it's proof that big things can come in small packages. Inside is an apartment where homebrewer Peter is going to show us what he's doing. Hopefully, he'll also give us some beer. So guys, thank you so much for inviting us into your home. How'd you get into the homebrewing hobby?
I've been doing it, I don't know if I would say for about 5 years. Homebrewing for me kind of started back in Seton Hall where I went to college. I worked at a small brew pub and it became an interest of mine, and a couple buddies in the house decided it'd be fun to try it ourselves.
Are you an extract guy or are you an all grain guy?
I mix it up, sometimes all grain, sometimes it's brew and bag, but generally extract, just due to the space limitations.
So how much do you love his hobby, or do you hate it?
As long as he cleans up after himself,
Yes.
I'm fine with it.
Yes, fantastic. But you get to sample the goods, right?
Yeah.
Has he ever made you any flavors just for you?
He found like a naturally fermenting cider. He's like, I'm gonna test this out, and it turned into like apple wine.
I made a cider once for my wife and it turned out terrible. It was just, it was flat. It tasted like really lame apple juice. So what styles do you like to brew?
It depends on the season for me. In the winter, I just have brewed a chocolate coffee porter, which is delicious. But now for the spring and the summer, I'm doing a Saison. I'll probably end up doing an IPA, probably do like a light cream ale.
Have you ever tried any just out there recipes?
Yeah. The Christmas beers are always kind of a fun mix because it's like a mix and mash of spices. 2 Christmases ago, it was brown sugar, honey, cinnamon, ginger, orange peel, thrown in like, you know, with a traditional brown ale, and it was just this crazy kind of spicy beer.
Do you have a favorite that you brew every now and then?
I like stouts.
Ah.
For home brewers, it's kind of like your basic recipe that you start with, because when you start, it can hide a lot of the mistakes and the errors when you first get out. But then when you start to perfect it, and you can get like the subtle nuances of the beer, and like you can make like an American stout that's a little hoppy, or you could do a traditional Irish stout that's nice and dry.
Stouts are fun, that's a great choice. In California, we overhop everything, but it's nice to travel around and see everything else that's going on in the country. The Saisons, which are, I think they're getting pretty big right now. It's
been a very big trend to see people move back to session ales. You know, there was a really big fad when people were doing high gravity beers. I'm gonna see if I can drink this 12% beer, 13, 14%. You just get tired of it. You have like 1 or 2 beers and like you're done. So everyone's moving back to session ales, which is a little bit lighter. You can have a couple nice, crisp, clean flavors. I mean,
yeah.
And Saison is kind of perfect for that.
Yeah. Do you have anything cooking right now?
Saison is actually on the stovetop at the moment.
Excellent,
so.
Excellent. So can we take a look at that?
Yeah, definitely.
So this is quite a setup. It's clear that you are dedicated to the craft of brewing because this is a tight space.
Just a little.
Yeah. What do we got going on here? What's cooking?
Today is just pretty basic French Saison. Being that I'm in this tight space, I can't really do a lauter tongue or, you know, mashing in and out.
Yeah.
So I have to go back to my extract roots. Just some light malt extract here. I have a couple different selections of hops, and towards the end I'll throw in some nice orange peel to kind of give it a little bit more of a citrus vibe, because I'm looking for something nice and light for spring.
And you're brewing in the bag, right?
No, I have some steeping grades at the moment. Just a couple torrefied wheat, some caramel 20. I think there's some also acidulated malt in there as well, just to kind of give it a little acid to it,
That
a
is
little
a
bitterness.
fancy word. Can you explain what that is?
Actually, I cannot.
Okay, I don't blame you. That's a big word. I have no idea what that is.
German acidulated malt. What I was told by my buddies over at Cask and Kettle is that it kind of gives it a little bit of a little bitterness in the back end, which helps.
It's acidulated malt. Got it. Okay, so what kind of hops are we using?
A combination of Nelson Sauvin and a just hops. Wackatoo, which is kind of like everyone's been blending different hop strains these days. From what I've been told, it gives a nice little citrus lime peel. essence to it on the end. And for this style, they're mostly going to be aroma, where most brews are going to throw in hops at the very beginning of the boil. These are just going to be towards the end to kind of give it that bright aroma.
Cool.
And only just a little bit of the alpha acids to kind of give it that hoppy bite that most people get, that kind of real bitterness like IPAs have.
You bottle, right? You don't keg?
I keg.
Oh, excellent.
Yeah, it was a struggle for me to get consistent carbonation when I was bottle conditioning, so I was like, screw this, I have to keg.
Make life easy.
I need new toys, yeah.
Yeah, and I've always been told if I ever make the switch from bottling to kegging that I will never go back.
Oh yeah, it's the easiest thing, and you can dial in how much carbonation you want to get in your beer, and there's no, I just waited 2 months for this beer to sit in the bottle, crack it, and I have flat beer, and there's nothing I can do. There's nothing more heartbreaking.
This is cooking. Obviously, I'm not going to dunk my face in that. Do you have anything that maybe we could taste?
I still have some of my chocolate coffee porter on tap.
Let's give that a whirl.
All right.
All right, so this is where the magic happens after the magic in there happens.
Yes. This is Second Floor Brewery, my little
Good name, good name.
paradise.
So you said you made the jump to kegging, not doing bottles anymore. What size keg you got in there?
I actually use a 3-gallon keg just for space reasons and to keep things a little bit more consumption-wise for myself. I can always try new beers. You're not drinking 5 gallons at a time, so you can keep rotating different styles.
And then what's the other fridge for?
The other fridge is actually for fermenting. In this apartment, being I'm on the 2nd floor year-round, it's like 75, 80 degrees, so it just doesn't work with good fermentation temperatures. You generally want a little bit of a cooler temp, so getting a nice little mini fridge and a HVAC temperature controller, I'm all set.
I've been dying to do that at home because I'm horrible with fermentation temperatures, so that's fantastic. You plug it in, you set the temp, and it's good to go, right?
Yeah, it's the easiest thing in the world. You just plug it right into your little mini fridge, and you're locked in within like a 5-degree window, whatever temperature you want.
Now, as fun as it is to talk about HVAC wiring and routing, you have beer in there. I think it's time we drink it.
All right.
Oh, that looks fantastic.
There you are, sir.
Let's sit down and enjoy this.
Good way to start the day.
Yes, of course, with a delicious beer. Cheers.
Cheers.
Thank you, sir. That's delicious. Nice and creamy on top, super smooth, great color. You nailed it. This is a wonderful beer.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for sharing this with us.
After saying goodbye to home brewer Peter, we headed over to the Cask and Kettle to learn more about what it takes to actually make the beer. This is where he gets the ingredients to make that good stuff. This is a homebrew supply shop.
Joe?
That's me. How are you?
Good. I hear you're the guy to talk to here at the Cask and Kettle. How long you guys been open?
I opened the store about 2.5 years ago.
So in that time, you've been teaching people to turn hops, grains, and water into magic.
Absolutely.
Looking around, it looks like you can get pretty much anything you need here.
We offer pretty much everything you need to get started brewing, all the way up through your most advanced techniques. We offer brew on premise, geared towards first-time or casual brewers, but also available to your regular seasoned brewer. It allows you to come in, choose a recipe. We take you through the process of brewing, walk you through using all the equipment, and teach you everything you need to know.
Since I've brewed about 10 batches at home, I probably know nothing, so it'd probably be good to take a refresher course. Do you mind if we take a look around the shop?
Not at all. It'd be my pleasure.
So Joe, this is a fun room because we're surrounded by ingredients. This is the basis of making beer in here. Can you explain a little bit about what we're looking at?
Absolutely. Along this center aisle here, the back wall, and on this side, we have all of our various cereal grains that we use for making our beer. In our refrigerator over here, we store all of our hops and liquid yeast cultures. And on this side, we have various things like malt extracts and syrup in dried form. We also have quite a bit of extra supplemental items.
Yeah, I mean, I can see pumpkin, I can see brown sugar, honey. You get a lot of interesting stuff going on. On the back wall, I saw candied sugar, wood chips. So I'm assuming all this is just to make more flavor in beer.
Absolutely. Many different styles of beer demand variation in their ingredients. For instance, we use a lot of the candy sugar and things like Belgian beer styles.
Can you tell me the difference between the dry yeast and the liquid yeast?
Well, for a long time, dry yeast was always thought to be inferior. For a lot of brewers years ago, it was all you could get your hands on. The selection quality wasn't really up to par, especially with where we are today. These days, our selection of dry yeast has really come full circle. We have a broad array of dry yeast that we can use here in the refrigerator. You can see we have quite a bit
Oh, wow.
in the way of selection for varied yeast cultures. The biggest difference is these yeasts will keep much better on the shelf for a longer period of time. That's one. Whereas these are live, active cultures. They're dormant while they're cold. We bring them up to temperature. Also, brewers use them to create starters where they culture and propagate larger quantities for their pitch. In stock at any given time, we usually have between 36 and 39 different types of pellet hops, and that's what you're seeing here. We also do stock whole leaf hops. The hops that we carry run the full gamut of application. We have hops that are dedicated for bittering purposes. We also have your lower alphas. We have your aroma hops, flavor hops. There's such a broad array, and this doesn't even scratch the surface.
Now, what's the difference between using the pellets and then using fresh hops?
A lot of it these days is preference. There's a conversion rate, so if your accessibility is limited, you can actually convert, and they can be used interchangeably. The pellets tend to store much better. They're compressed. The resins that provide us with all that bittering and those alpha and beta acids, they give a much longer shelf life. And the leaf hops, they take up a lot more space. An ounce of leaf hops versus an ounce of pellet hops.
Oh.
And so when we talk about storage, shipping, and all those obvious things, logistics and things like that, one of the reasons pellets really have become the mainstay is because of that. We see a lot of people using their leaf hops more for dry hopping or post-fermentation hopping. You tend to get a bit of an earthier flavor character and some earthier aroma characters with the leaf hops, especially in long-term dry hop applications, or if you're using quite a bit of them in your boils.
Wow,
So.
fantastic. And anybody watching at home, keep these away from your dogs. Dogs and hops don't mix. So obviously we have all the ingredients to make fantastic beer, but we need the equipment. Can you show me some of your equipment?
I'd be happy to.
Excellent. So ingredients are fun, but I think some real homebrew geeks geek out on equipment. We love equipment.
Absolutely.
You have anything you need to make beer besides the ingredients on the other side right here. It's surrounded by cool stuff. You've got tons of brew kettles going on, you've got the mash paddles, and you've got the starter kits, which are actually really important. You obviously see some new brewers come through your store. How often do you see them turn into returning guests, and then how often do you never see those people again because they get frustrated?
Most people who get into the hobby tend to stick with it.
So you're almost crafting a community of brewers by having a store like this.
We definitely like to spend time with our customers. A lot of times, sometimes guys will come after hours, stay and hang out, and we can sit around and discuss their beer. We also host a homebrew club monthly here. We don't want people brewing bad beer.
Sure.
We always like people to succeed, enjoy their brew day, and come out with a product that they're really proud of.
Yeah. This piece of equipment has caught my eye. I want this so bad. I use a smaller 7.5 gallon kettle, and I don't have this, I don't have this, I don't have, in there for mashing.
So you have a lobster pot.
I have a lobster pot. This is the Rolls Royce.
This particular setup right here is designed to be an out-of-the-box, all-inclusive mash tun. You could use it as a boil kettle, you could use it for any other application, but it's really designed from the manufacturer to be an all-in-one mash tun system. And it gets you the 2 weldless bulkheads, your thermometer, a stainless steel ball valve, as well as inside screen.
And if you take care of it, this thing's gonna last a long time.
Yep, it's a nice middle ground gauge stainless steel pot. As long as you take care of your equipment, it'll take care of you, and stainless steel is always a good investment.
This thing is fantastic. I'm gonna be back here later to look at this, but before I consider dumping some good money on this thing, I wanna check out your brew room. Can we take a look?
Let's go.
So those other 2 rooms were fun. This room though, this is awesome. This is where it all goes down. You get to brew on premise right here.
That's right.
This is a pretty healthy operation, both in terms of what you're offering up, but in size and scope. You gotta have a little bit of help here.
I do get some assistance around here. My mother actually was the first assistant. She had come in part-time to help me with the odds and ends, and now she actually digs right in and helps out customers.
What's it like bossing your mom around?
Very awkward. It's actually been really impressive because she started out with no knowledge of brewing whatsoever. And now she's perfectly capable of being here alone, handling questions. And then shortly after that, we started to get very busy in this room, which takes up a lot of time. It's very difficult to handle retail and the brew on premise. And so about 1.5 years ago, I brought on my first full-time employee, Mike.
Well, bring him on in. Let's have a chat with him.
Mike, why don't you come on in here?
Mike,
How's it going?
thanks for joining us.
Nice to meet you.
You have a background in science,
I do.
from what I hear. I'm assuming
Generic.
chemistry, or
Biology.
it's got to help with brewing.
Certainly does.
This
I
is
like
essentially cooking science, almost.
Yeah, it's actually nice to enjoy the fruits of your labor sometimes.
Yes.
maybe more often than I should.
What's it like working here? Fun?
That's excellent. It's definitely not the worst job I've ever had. I assist in the brew on premise, so I teach all of these classes. And whether it's a novice or an advanced brewer, I'm here for them.
So you have a lot of folks coming through these doors. They have a lot of beers to pick from. Are there any types of brews that stand out across your clientele line?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we get a pretty wide demographic of people coming through, novices to advanced brewers, and they have a pretty eclectic sense of taste. So we get lots of different beers being made, but most prominent would be the IPAs or pale ales.
This is a fantastic place. I'm gonna go wander around a bit and then spend all of my money. So you'll see me at the register in a little bit.
Take your time.
Well, your son has an absolutely wonderful store here, and I hope you enjoy continuing to boss him around.
I do.
I'd also like to thank you for helping me spend my money.
Anytime.
We said goodbye to the crew at Cask and Kettle because it was time to head to a microbrew and drink some beer. Whenever we hit a new town, one of our favorite things to do is check out the local microbrew scene. According to the folks around here, there's no better place than GasLight.
Dan, thank you so much for letting us come into your wonderful establishment. How long have you guys owned this place?
We've been here now for just under 16 years.
Wow, and it's a full family affair.
Yeah, my mom's the executive chef.
Okay.
And my father's the general manager.
You guys brew your own beer on site?
Yes, we do. We have the 4 fermenters right here. We have 2 more fermenters downstairs. The brew house is in the front, and we have 8 serving tanks downstairs.
Awesome.
Most of our beers are ales,
Okay.
and they take about 2 weeks to make each one.
2 weeks, really?
Yeah.
I guess, I mean, you're not bottle conditioning anything, you're just going right to keg.
Right, it actually gets conditioned in the fermenters. These are called unit tanks, so they ferment and condition in the tank.
Oh, wow. How big is this
About
size-wise?
250 gallons.
That sounds like a lot of awfully delicious beer.
All 4 of them are full right now. In this tank right here, we have our Pinhead Pilsner.
Okay.
We have our Hopfest, which is an American Pale Ale. We have our Bulldog Blonde, which is one of our constant beers, one that we have on all the time. And in the last tank, we have our Honey Double Maibach, which is the Eliminator.
Now, they don't start here. Where do these beers start?
Everything comes right out of the brew house up in front. Everything starts there.
Okay. I think we're gonna have to take a look at that now.
Sure.
Now, this is where it all goes down.
Yeah.
To someone who makes beer at home 5 gallons at a time, this is like a fantasy land for me.
Yeah.
And what's your tap capacity?
We have 16 draft lines in a beer engine. Usually it's 8 house beers and 8 guest beers.
That's cool. Your father's involved in this business as well. So what does your father do here?
He's kind of like a general manager. He oversees everything. He bartends, he pays the bills and writes the checks, and he still runs the Homebrew Supply Store.
So if he bartends, that means he's behind the bar and he can probably pour me a beer?
Yeah, I think he could do
I
that.
think it might be time to talk to your dad.
Okay.
Dan Sr.,
How
it's
you
a
doing?
pleasure to meet you.
Nice
Thanks for
meeting
letting
you.
me sit at your fine establishment
Okay.
here. You started this place in 1998. You opened a homebrew store in 93.
Yes.
So what got you into the love of beer?
I was stationed in Germany for 3 years, and you can't leave Germany after 3 years and not have developed a taste for beer.
What's it like working here behind the bar? Do you enjoy interacting with the customers?
Yes, that's one of the better parts. You
Yeah.
get to see different people from literally all over the world.
So what would you say is one of the customer favorites?
The new beer drinkers would probably go for something like the Bulldog Blonde. The people that have been doing craft beers for a while will go with the more flavorful, hoppy beers.
But it is nice that you offer a wide range like that. What's it like working with your son? Honestly.
Interesting.
Interesting. I mean, this is a whole family affair
Right.
here.
My 2 sons, my wife, and I.
So I assume you like your wife's cooking.
Yes.
Have you guys ever started pairing your food with your beer?
Yeah, we had our first beer pairing dinner with Michael Jackson back in 93 or 94. And over the years, we've probably had 50 or 60 different beer dinners.
Obviously, all this talking about beer is fun, but it's more fun to drink a beer. Mind pouring me a glass of one of your favorites?
Sure.
Awesome.
There you go, that's our 3-ring IPA.
Looks delicious. Good color. Very red.
With oak.
That's
character.
good. That's very good. Great head on it, too. Awesome stuff. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
What are you guys drinking?
80 shilling wee heavy, comes out once a year. Typical, beautiful example of a Scottish wee heavy ale.
Excellent. How about you?
This is a 3-ring ale, IPA.
I'm drinking the Hopfest. It's, I guess, an American pale ale. It's more to my liking because I like a hoppy beer.
Sure. Dan, if you don't mind, is there any way I could get some samples of these beers? Thank you, sir.
This is the wee heavy.
Okay. Scottish beer. See you later, lad. Oh yeah, that one's good.
And the Hopfest.
Excellent. I feel like I'm going back to California with this one. You were right. Good stuff. Cheers to the GasLight and your favorite beers.
Cheers. All right.
Bottoms up. Thanks for joining us on this episode of The Beer Snob. We learned an awful lot about home brewing. We took in this wonderful microbrewery and we met some colorful characters. Additionally, more importantly, we tasted some great beer. In fact, I'm gonna go finish my glass.